Here comes the bride, all dressed in white. Howdy, everyone, and welcome to a rip-roaring good episode of Marriage Material. My name is Corina Lucas. This is a podcast where we read the Wikipedias of historical figures and we decide whether or not they're marriage material. Me and you, we're going to do it together, right? We're going to rate them on hotness. We're going to rate them on stability. And hell, we're even going to rate them on the X Factor, the bonus points. That's whatever we want it to be. So what do you say we get into episode 4, Ein Rand? Huh? Let's do it together. Here we go. I'm just going to dive right in here. Ein Rand was born Elisa Zinovyevna Rosenbaum. I am so smart for nailing that name. On February 2nd, 1905, to a Russian Jewish bourgeois family living in St. Petersburg. She's Russian. She was the eldest of 3 daughters of Zinovy Zarovich Rosenbaum and Anna Borisov. God damn it, I'm killing these names. Her father was an upwardly mobile pharmacist, and her mother was socially ambitious and religiously observant. They sound very uptight so far. And that's not going to lead to a hot situation. But I think I'm judging her too soon. Let's give her. I so don't believe she's going to get any points in any of these. I have a deep dislike for Ayn Rand, and I'm trying to be objective here. But we'll see what I can do. Rand later said she found school unchallenging, you cocky little bitch, god damn it, and began writing screenplays at the age of 8 and novels at the age of 10. Well, now you're just showing off. Okay. I'm having trouble being objective here. I really should. Okay, we got this. At the prestigious, it's a gym, this prestigious gymnasium, I can't even pronounce it, her closest friend was Vladimir Nabokov's younger sister, Olga. The two girls shared an intense interest in politics. These are two 10-year-old girls, so, just doing little girl stuff, and would engage in debates at the Nabokov mansion. Political debates that take place in a mansion where you live, those cannot be good political debates. I doubt I agreed with what they were talking about. While Olga defended constitutional monarchy, Elisa supported Republican ideals. So they both suck major dick so far. But again, we're trying to be objective. All right? We don't know anything about. She's really into politics at a young age. That is not hot. That is definitely not hot. I think we're going to have a ringer for by far the lowest score so far. But I don't want to call it too early. So let's keep going. She was 12 at the time of the February Revolution of 1917, which I believe is when the Bolsheviks took over overthrew the Tsar. During which she favored Alexander Kerensky over Tsar Nicholas II. Hell yeah, nailed it. The subsequent October Revolution and the rule of the Bolsheviks under Vladimir Lenin disrupted the life the family had previously enjoyed. This is going to be kind of a crossover episode from our first episode of Stalin. We're getting a little crossover here. Anyway, her father's business was confiscated, and the family fled to the Crimean Peninsula, which was initially under control of the White Army during the Russian Civil War. While in high school, she concluded that she was an atheist and valued reason above any other human virtue. That sounds good, but it sounds a little Bill Maher-y. You know what I mean? Where you think you're hot shit because you're an atheist. Look, I'm an atheist, and I know I'm a piece of shit. Can't those two things exist? Can't they coexist together? I wish I was religious. Truly, truly, truly. It sounds so nice to be sure that everything's going to be alright when you die. Because I'm tired of having existential panic attacks. You know what I mean? Aren't panic attacks weird? After graduating from high school in Crimea in June 1921, she returned with her family to Petrograd, as St. Petersburg was renamed at the time, where they faced desperate occasions, on occasion nearly starving. Okay, I feel a little bad for shitting on her so regularly, but let's see what happens here. She deserves it. After the Russian Revolution, universities were opened to women, allowing her to be the first group of women to enroll at Petrograd State University. Fine, I will give you some points, you libertarian piece of shit. I will give you some points, very begrudgingly, because I'm trying to be objective. Failing miserably, but trying to be objective. At the age of 16, she began her studies in the Department of Social Pedagogy, majoring in history. At the university, she was introduced to the writings of Aristotle and Plato, who would be her greatest influence and counter-influence, respectively. She also studied the philosophical works of Friedrich Nietzsche. Of course she did. Two sad little lumps of shit with mildly interesting philosophies. Able to read French, German, and Russian, she also discovered the writers Fyodor Dostoevsky, Victor Hugo, Edmund Rostand, and Friedrich Schiller, who became her perennial favorites, and whom I have read none of their books. I have read none of those books. I tried reading a Dostoevsky book once, and I got through the title before I stopped. Along with many other bourgeois students, she's not bourgeois, she lived in... Whatever, Wikipedia. Along with many other bourgeois students, she was purged from the university shortly before graduating. After complaints from a group of visiting foreign scientists, however, many of the purged students were allowed to complete their work and graduate, which she did in October 1924. You know, good for her. She's kind of giving me she's like the nega Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know what I mean? They both had the same struggle, being women in male-dominated fields or whatever, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg is likable. And Ein Rand is just not. Again, she's 16, so I'm being way too hard on her, but I promise the rankings will reflect an objective view on this. She then studied for a year at the State Technicum for Screen Arts in Leningrad. For an assignment, she wrote an essay about the Polish actress Pola Negri, which became her first public work. Ooh, she's published, baby! Alright. Becoming accomplished. That makes her a little bit hotter. She struggled, she accomplished. I have no idea what the book is about, but just that she made it is a good thing, I think. By this time, she had decided her professional surname for writing would be Rand. That's kind of cool, to make your own name. I respect that. Trans girl to cis girl, I respect naming yourself, alright? Possibly because it is graphically similar to a vowelless excerpt. I have no clue what that is. P3HO with a line over it. I don't speak Cyrillic. And she adopted the first name Ein, either from a Finnic name, Aino, or from the Hebrew word ayin, meaning I. Okay, so her first name is I. That's, alright, I-E-Y-E-I. She thinks she's all seeing. You cocky woman. In the late 1925, Rand was granted a visa to visit relatives in Chicago. She departed on January 17, 1926. When she arrived in New York City on February 19th, that's a month on a boat. You know what? I'm going to bet they didn't have showers on that boat. They're probably just eating like salted meats and unsalted water. Sounds great. She was so impressed with the skyline of Manhattan that she cried what she later called tears of splendor. Oh, okay. That's kind of cute. And I kind of resent this article for making me relate to Ayn Rand, because Manhattan is really cool the first time you see it. Intent on staying in the United States to become a screenwriter, she lived for a few months with her relatives, one of whom owned a movie theater and allowed her to watch dozens of films free of charge. Hell yes. That's a good setup. Okay, she's getting kind of cool. She's kind of cool right now. Like, I'm very surprised to find this out. Let's see what happens next. She then left for Hollywood, California. Hollywood, baby! Where dreams come true. Everyone's happy in Hollywood. Nothing bad happens in Hollywood. In Hollywood, a chance meeting with famed director Cecil B. DeMille led to work as an extra in his film The King of Kings. And I love that they couldn't... We all know Hollywood is like misogynistic, especially in the 30s, but The King of Kings is like the most male patriarchal name you could pick. I'm sure they just saw the title and checked it off as they greenlit it, as they say in the biz. Alright. While working on The King of Kings, she met an aspiring young actor, Frank O'Connor. The two were married on April 15th, 1929. Ooh, some stability points. Alright. She got married early. So she's definitely not killing it in hotness, but I could see her rocking stability pretty well. Let's see what her life is like. She became a permanent American resident in 1929 and an American citizen in 1931. Taking various jobs during the 1930s to support her writing, She worked for a time as the head of the costume department at RKO Studios. Okay, you know what? She's getting kind of likable. It's unfortunate. I really didn't want to like her at all. But look at her. She's working a bunch of jobs to support her dream. She's living in Hollywood. She's married. I don't know. I like her, which is unfortunate. I didn't want to. She made several attempts to bring her parents and sisters to the United States, but they were unable to acquire permission to emigrate. Rand's first literary success came with the sale of her screenplay Red Pawn to Universal Studios in Red Pawn. Did that come out before Red Dawn? I wonder if they get it mixed up ever. Like someone watches Red Pawn and they're like, what is this? Where are the Russians? Although it was never produced. I would like to see what Red Pawn is like. This was followed by the courtroom drama Night of January 6th. Ooh, a courtroom drama. Okay, she's got skills. She can write different genres. Each night, a jury was selected from members of the audience. Based on the jury's vote, one of two different endings would be performed. That's rad. That's the first Choose Your Adventure. Oh my God, Ein Rand. You libertarian piece of shit. I like you. In 1941, Paramount Pictures produced a movie loosely based on the play. Rand did not participate in the production and was highly critical of the result. Ideal is a novel and play written in 1934, which was first published in 2015 by her state. The heroine is an actress who embodies Randian ideals. Rand's first published novel, the semi-autobiographical We the Living, was published in 1936. Set in Soviet Russia, something she knows a lot about, it focused on the struggle between the individual and the state. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Her disgusting politics. That's what I wanted to read about. Okay. But again, trying to be objective. And if we're being honest, she's kind of killing it right now. I was not expecting that. She's doing pretty well in the hotness. She's a playwright. She's working her jobs. Struggled through a male-dominated school. And stability, she's married. I mean, she's working a bunch of jobs and she's a struggling artist, so maybe she loses a few points for that, but let's see what else happens. In a 1959 foreword to the novel, Rand stated that We the Living is as near to an autobiography as I will ever write. It is not an autobiography in the literal, but only in the intellectual sense. The plot is invented, the background is not. That's kind of cool. Initial sales were slow, and the American publisher let it go out of print, although European editions continued to sell. After the success of her later novels, Rand was able to release a revised version in 1959 that has since sold over 3 million copies. A very successful writer. In 1942, without Rand's knowledge or permission, the novel was made into a pair of Italian films, Noi Vivi and Addio Kira. Rediscovered in the 1960s, these films were re-edited into a new version, which was approved by Rand and re-released as She approved it! Re-released as We the Living in 1986. I can't believe she approved it. She seems so very uptight. So very uptight. It was an Italian movie. Uptight. I'm Italian, so I can do that. Her novella Anthem was written during a break from the writing of her next major novel, The Fountainhead. That's one that I have heard about. I've never read, but I have heard about it. It presents a vision of a dystopian future, cool, in which totalitarian collectivism has triumphed to such an extent that even the word I has been forgotten and replaced with the word we. It was a little heavy-handed. Ein. Sounds like you're saying no in German. Ein! It was published in England in 1938, but Rand initially could not find an American publisher. Way to go! US of A! As with We the Living, Rand's later success allowed her to get a revised version published in 1946, which has sold more than 3.5 million copies. During the 1940s, Rand became politically active. Oh boy. Alright. She and her husband worked as full-time volunteers for the 1940 presidential campaign of Republican Wendell Willkie. Ooh, I have no idea who Wendell Willkie is, but his name makes him sound like he's a 5-year-old boy. I am pretty sure he's a 5-year-old boy. So they're volunteering for a 5-year-old boy's presidential campaign. This work led to Rand's first public speaking experiences. She enjoyed fielding sometimes hostile questions from New York City audiences who have viewed pro-Wilkie newsreels. I like that because I enjoy hostile people coming at me. I like to say things that make cis people uncomfortable and slightly hostile. So I can relate to that a little bit. I mean, she's on the right. That's not great, but I can relate to the impulse. She's kind of doing way better than I thought she would. This activity brought her into contact with other intellectuals sympathetic to free market capitalism. Oh boy, that's not good. You know, free market sounds good, but you look at the people who are for it and oh boy. Yeah. She became friends with journalist Henry Hazlitt and his wife, and Hazlitt introduced her to the Austrian school economist Ludwig von Mises. So many fun names to say. Henry Hazlitt and Ludwig von Mises. Despite her philosophical differences with them, Rand strongly endorsed the writing of both men throughout her career, and both of them expressed admiration for her. Finally, a writer who supports men. Finally. Mises once referred to Rand as the most courageous man in America. Ew. A compliment that particularly pleased her because he said man instead of woman. Ew! Ein Rand is selling women up the river here. Why can't she be, most courageous person in America? Not to be preachy, but Jesus Christ, Ein. Anyway, I just don't think it's hot to sell your own gender up the river. So she lost some points there, definitely. I'm trying to be objective, but in general, it is not hot to sell your own people up the river. Rand also became friends with libertarian writer Isabel Patterson. Rand questioned Patterson about American history and politics long into the night during their many meetings, and gave Patterson ideas for her only non-fiction book, The God of the Machine. I'd play that game. Rand's first major success as a writer came in 1943 with The Fountainhead, a romantic and philosophical novel that she wrote over a period of 7 years. The novel centers on an uncompromising young architect named Howard Roark and his struggle against what Rand described as second-handers, those who attempt to live through others, placing others above themselves. What a weird thing to be mad about. People who are generous and giving and care about other people. And she's writing a whole novel about how that's garbage. What a garbage human being. It was rejected by 12 publishers before finally being accepted by the Bobbs Merrill Company on the insistence of editor Archibald Ogden, who threatened to quit if his employer did not publish it. Damn. I should read that book, just so I know what I'm hating, you know? I like to hate things without knowing anything about them. It makes it so much easier, you know? Like, the more I read about Ayn Rand, the less I hate her, which is unfortunate, because it's fun to hate. It's fun to have, like, a pure hate, you know? That person at work. That kind of hate. You know who I'm talking about. While completing the novel, Rand was prescribed the amphetamine benzatrine to fight fatigue. So she's on amphetamines, writing a libertarian propaganda piece. That's pretty ridiculous. I love it. She's like a libertarian Philip K. Dick, and I am here for it. The drug helped her to work long hours to meet her deadline for delivering the novel, but afterwards she was so exhausted that her doctor ordered 2 weeks rest. Okay, so that loses her some stability points. She's a troubled artist, not a regular artist. Because it's possible to be a great creator and just not be addicted to amphetamines and super depressed. It's possible. I'm having trouble coming up with an example, but I know it's possible. I'm pretty sure. Her use of the drug for approximately 3 decades may have contributed to what some of her later associates described as volatile mood swings. Okay, so she's addicted to amphetamines. This is where she starts losing some stability points. Volatile mood swings. Okay, that could be hot though. You know, I am attracted to unstable people. So she might be earning some hotness points here. I'm also attracted to people I hate. So who knows? The Fountainhead became a worldwide success, bringing Rand fame and financial security. In 1943, Rand sold the rights for a film version to Warner Bros., and she returned to Hollywood to write the screenplay. Finishing her work on that screenplay, she was hired by producer Hal B. Wallace. Hal B. Wallace. It's like Hal, letter B, Wallace, but I want to say Hal B. Wallace. As a screenwriter and script doctor. Man, I am loopy today. Her work for Wallace included the screenplays for the Oscar-nominated Love Letters and You Came... She wrote a rom-com? I cannot imagine Rand writing a rom-com. It's like 10 Things I Hate About You, but really political. Doesn't that sound fun? Rand also worked on other projects, including a planned non-fiction treatment of her philosophy to be called The Moral Basis of Individualism. What a page-turner that sounds like. Although the planned book was never completed, a condensed version was published as an essay titled The Only Path to Tomorrow in the January 1944 edition of Reader's Digest magazine. Rand extended her involvement with free market and anti-communist activity. Ooh boy. Okay. I bet she sold a bunch of communists out to McCarthy in Hollywood. She's probably the reason. Her and Reagan just working together. Oh shit! You think her and Reagan knew each other? It's like the worst crossover episode ever. Her and Reagan chilling. She also joined the Anti-Communist American Writers Association. They must have made the worst books. Because I'm willing to believe that the more like... I'm going to say it, the farther to the left you are, the better of an artist you are. Generally. Like, how many great artists are there on the far right? I don't know. I've never seen any Reagan movies. I don't even think Reagan was... Like, I know his presidency was, but I think he's just an opportunist. He saw an opportunity and snagged it. But this isn't about Reagan. This is about Ein. Let's talk about Ein. A visit by Isabel Patterson to meet with Rand's California associates led to a final falling out between the two when Patterson made comments which Rand considered rude to valued political allies. So he's cutting out friends for being rude. Not a bad thing to cut out toxic friends, but I'm beginning to think Rand is the toxic one. That's what meth will do to you. In 1947, during the second Red Scare, it sounds like America almost got pregnant for the second time. Rand testified as a friendly witness, oh yeah, here it comes, before the United States House Un-American Activities Committee. There it is. Nailed it, called it. Her testimony described the disparity between her personal experiences in the Soviet Union and the portrayal of it in the 1944 film Song of Russia. Rand argued that the film grossly misrepresented conditions in the Soviet Union, portraying life there as much better and happier than it actually was. Yeah, Stalin can suck a major dick. We learned about that. He's a horrible dude. She also wanted to criticize the lauded 1946 film, The Best Years of Our Lives, for what she interpreted as its negative presentation of the business world. Oh, she's defending the business world. Good. They need help. Yeah, they're hurting right now. Poor Bezos is down to 5 mansions. What a sad story. Poor Bezos. But she was not allowed to testify about it. When asked after the hearings about her feelings on the effectiveness of the investigations, Rand described the process as futile. She's an angry, bitter old lady. And surprisingly doing it for me in the hotness still. But she is unlikable. She seems to be unlikable. After several delays, the film version of The Fountainhead was released in 1949. Although it used Rand's screenplay with minimal alterations, she disliked the movie from beginning to end. What a hater! And complained about its editing, acting, and other elements. Man, amphetamines make you a hater. Holy shit. What does she like? Does she even like anything other than like Republican candidates? I don't know. I don't know if she likes anything. She's one of the most joyless people I've ever read about. In the years following the publication of The Fountainhead, Rand received numerous letters from readers, some of whom the book profoundly influenced. In 1951, Rand moved from Los Angeles to New York City, where she gathered a group of these admirers around her. This group, jokingly designated the Collective, included future chair of the Federal Reserve Alan Greenspan. Ooh, another hottie. A bunch of hotties surrounding Ein Rand. Fellow hottie Ein Rand. Ein and Alan, baby. These crossover episodes are killing me. A young psychology student named Nathan Blumenthal and his wife Barbara and Barbara's cousin Leonard Peikoff. There's so many fun names in this. Initially, the group was an informal gathering of friends who met with Rand on weekends at her apartment to discuss philosophy. She later began allowing them to read the drafts of her new novel, Atlas Shrugged. I've heard of that, as the manuscript pages were written. In 1954, Rand's close relationship with the younger Nathaniel Branden turned into a romantic affair with the grudging consent of his spouses. What? She had an open relationship? Are you kidding me? That is so unexpected. How much younger is Nathaniel Branden? I'm going to look it up and then edit the pause out real quick. Hold on. Okay, so Nathaniel is 25 years younger than her. Kind of gross, Ayn Rand. Jesus Christ. Okay, so on the one hand, she has an open relationship. That's pretty cool. That's pretty hot. It's pretty modern of her. On the other hand, she didn't tell her husband about it. They had the grudging consent of their spouses. And he's way younger. So overall, it's a minus for Ayn Rand. Jesus Christ, she can't do anything right. Atlas Shrugged, published in 1957, was considered Rand's magnum opus, by Rand, obviously. Rand described the theme of the novel as the role of mind in man's existence. She's really not a feminist. She's anti-feminist. And as a corollary, or maybe she's just trans. Maybe I'm just being mean. No, I'm giving her too much credit. And as a corollary, the demonstration of a new moral philosophy, the morality of rational self-interest. That sounds good, but I'm willing to bet it's a big pile of dinosaur shit. You know, the one that, like, Laura Dern reaches her arm into in Jurassic Park? That pile of dinosaur shit. Or Jurassic Park 3, William H. Macy reaching into the pile of shit to grab the satellite phone? That pile of shit. I don't know about any shit in Jurassic Park 2. So, that rule of 3 is out the window. The plot involves a dystopian United States in which the most creative industrialists, scientists, and artists respond to a welfare state government. Ugh, come on. Just because the government's giving people money, that's what it's there for. To be a safety net. You cold-hearted son of a gun. Man, that was the most timid insult I've ever given to anyone. You cold-hearted son of a gun. You meanie. They responded to the welfare state government by going on strike and retreating to a mountainous hideaway where they built an independent, free economy. With a... The novel's hero and leader of the strike, John Galt, describes the strike as stopping the motor of the world by withdrawing the minds of the individuals most contributing to the nation's wealth and achievement. With this fictional strike, Rand intended to illustrate that without the efforts of the rational and productive, the economy would collapse and society would fall apart. The novel includes elements of mystery, romance, and science fiction, and contains an extended exposition of objectivism. It sounds like she made a thinly veiled manifesto and pretended it was a novel. That's what it sounds like. Despite many negative reviews, Atlas Shrugged became an international bestseller. In an interview with Mike Wallace, Rand declared herself the most creative thinker alive. Wow. Okay. She's really cocky, which I'm not gonna lie, kind of hot. Kind of hot, if I'm being objective, because I don't think it's hot on her I'm trying to be objective. In general, I think cockiness is hot, even though she's a disgusting human being. However, Rand was discouraged and depressed by the reaction of intellectuals to the novel. Hey, I'm not an intellectual, okay? You don't need to be discouraged and depressed by my reaction. Atlas Shrugged was Rand's last completed work of fiction. It marked the end of her career as a novelist and the beginning of her role as a popular philosopher. Ugh! God! Please no. Please God no. In 1958, Nathaniel Branden established Nathaniel Branden Lectures, later incorporated as the Nathaniel Branden Institute, to promote Rand's philosophy. Collective members gave lectures for NBI and wrote articles for objectivist periodicals that she edited. Rand later published some of these articles in book form. Man, she's losing all her hotness points right now for starting, if you're getting super into... Okay. Rand, you almost had it. You almost pulled a come-from-behind victory. But here you are, just being not hot. And not stable. Thank God. We really needed someone to really fail at this podcast, to give us a control, to see where the floor is. Critics, including some former NBI students and Brandon himself, later described the culture as NBI as one of intellectual conformity and an excessive reverence for Rand. Of course, she's talking about, like, self-reliance and all that shit, and she's got this cult following her around. With some describing NBI, or the objectivist movement itself, as a cult or religion. Hey, cat in the wall, all right. I wrote this article, I think. Rand expressed opinions on a wide range of topics, from literature and music to sexuality and facial hair. I'm sure her sexuality takes were so spicy, so hot, so spicy. I'm sure. And some of her followers mimicked her preferences, wearing clothes to match characters from her novels and buying furniture like hers. I'm not gonna lie, I would probably be that person. I am so prone to hero worship. However, some former NBI students believed the extent of these behaviors was exaggerated, and the problem was concentrated among Rand's closest followers in New York. Rand was unimpressed with many of the NBI students and held them to strict standards, sometimes reacting coldly or angrily to those who disagreed with her. I don't think she has ever been happy. For one instant in her life has she ever been happy. She is a real bummer. She's just a real bummer. And you know what? I'm not going to blame the meth. I'm blaming her. Sure, she's addicted to meth, but she's just a real pooter. She's a big old pile of duty. Big old pile of dinosaur shit. We'll say there's a pile of dinosaur shit in Jurassic Park 2. She's like that pile of dinosaur shit. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, Rand developed and promoted her objectivist philosophy through her nonfiction works, and by giving talks to students at institutions such as Yale, Princeton, Columbia, Harvard, and MIT. She gave talks. They say she gave talks, but she actually just stood in front of the campus screaming into a megaphone while everyone tried to sleep. She received an honorary doctorate of humane letters from Lewis and Clark College, she gave it to herself, on October 2nd, 1963. She also began delivering annual lectures at the Ford Hall Forum, responding afterward to questions from the audience. During these speeches and Q&A sessions, she often took controversial stances on political and social issues of the day. She's just a rabble-rouser, which I appreciate, but she's on the wrong side. She's not the rabble-rouser that I like. But I do like rabble-rousers, and I am trying to be objective, so I'm going to give her a little boost in hotness because of that. Even though, she supports abortion rights, opposed the Vietnam War and the military draft. Wow! But then she condemns many draft dodgers as bums. Just when she says something you think you like, she always... Goddamn. Supporting Israel in the Yom Kippur War of 1973 against a coalition of Arab nations as civilized men fighting savages. Wow, Ein. Okay. Saying European colonists had the right to develop land taken from American Indians. Oh, okay. What a hot take, Ein. Wow, way to be original. And calling homosexuality immoral and disgusting. You know what? I've heard that before. Try something new. Make your homophobia interesting, at least. How's your 25-year younger lover, Ein? I'm getting defensive here. Getting very defensive. While also, she called homosexuality immoral and disgusting, while also advocating the repeal of all laws about it. Good and bad, I guess. She endorsed several Republican candidates for President of the United States, most strongly Barry Goldwater in 1964, whose candidacy she promoted in several articles for the Objectivist newsletter. In 1964, Nathaniel Brandon began an affair with the young actress Patricia Scott, whom he later married. Oh shit! Ein is getting cheated on by the person she was cheating with. This is saucy. This is some saucy stuff. And he's going for a younger actress. The cycle of inherent abuse continues. Nathaniel and Barbara kept the affair hidden from Rand. Good idea. I don't think an amphetamine-fueled Rand is going to handle that well. When she learned of it in 1968, though her romantic relationship with Brandon had already ended, Rand terminated her relationship with both Brandons, which led to the closure of the NBI. She is a bitter old lady. Bitter old lady. I'm getting like the grandma from Malcolm in the Middle vibes from her. I bet they would get along famously. Rand published an article in The Objectivist repudiating Nathaniel Brandon for dishonesty and other irrational behavior in his private life. I bet there's like an afterthought at the end of that, but like, plus, he never went down on me. What's that all about? You know what? She's all about self-reliance. I bet she went down on herself, right? Libertarians, going down on themselves. That should be, instead of a snake, it should be a snake sucking its own dick. That's what the libertarian flag should be. In subsequent years, Rand and several more of her closest associates parted company. That's the meth. And meth is really, or maybe she's just unlikable. Rand underwent surgery for lung cancer in 1974. She is the nega Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I swear to God. I bet you she didn't work at all while she had cancer. What a weakling. Oh God, I feel terrible for saying that immediately. Rand underwent surgery for lung cancer in 1974 after decades of heavy smoking. In 1976, she retired from writing her newsletter, called it, and after her initial objections, she allowed social worker Ava Pryor, an employee of her attorney, to enroll her in Social Security and Medicare. Oh boy, big old hypocrite. Big old hypocrite. I mean, we all know. This is kind of all I knew about her, is that she was big on like self-reliance and no government help, and then she'd take Social Security and Medicare at the end. She was so stubborn, but when it really mattered, she can't do it. And look, she should have gotten Social Security and Medicare, but come out and be like, yo, I was wrong. That was the meth talking. Man, fuck her. During the late 1970s, her activities within the objectivist movement declined, especially after the death of her husband on November 9, 1979. One of her final projects was work on a never-completed television adaptation of Atlas Shrugged. Rand died of heart failure on March 6, 1982, at her home in New York City, and was interred in the Kensico Cemetery, Valhalla, New York. Valhalla? There's a place in New York called Valhalla. It's just full of dead Nords, drinking mead and fighting each other. I play too much Skyrim. Rand's funeral was attended by some of her prominent followers, including Alan Greenspan. A 6-foot floral arrangement in the shape of a dollar sign was placed near her casket. Of course, she lived the most joyless, like, depressing life. Of course, there's a dollar sign as like the symbol that represents her. Let's call it here. Okay. All right. That has been Ein Rand. It's now time for the moment you've all been waiting for, the ranking. Let's see. Let's go over for Ein Rand. What's her score going to be? Let's find out. Hotness. My impulse is to give her 0 because I hate her very much. But she was a rabble-rouser, she was scrappy, she was unstable, all things that I like. However, she sold women up the river. She was bitter and unlikable, so that's not good. I'm going to give her a 4 in hotness. Ein Rand is getting a 4 in hotness. And now, we move on to stability. While she did get married at a young age, and she was a writer, a successful writer, in her early years, she struggled, worked a bunch of different jobs, probably didn't have time for her husband. She wound up cheating on him with a much younger man who eventually grew to hate her, and she him. She became addicted to amphetamines. So I'm going to say she's not very... I'm going to give her a 4 in stability. So that's 2 4s. And now, the bonus points. Now this is where I can impress my opinion on someone. This is where I get a little leeway. I am going to give her 2 bonus points for enjoying hostile conversations with people. I like that. That's something I do. So she gets 2 bonus points. I also give her 2 because that means her final score is an even 10, baby. Ein Rand, 10 out of 30 on the hotness scale. So far, 10 out of 30 on the marriage material scale. So far, the lowest of the 4. So that's it. That's Ein Rand. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I have a Twitch stream every Sunday at 3 Pacific Standard Time. Corina plays old games. The link is on all my social media stuff. Go find it. And enjoy yourselves. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.